Most of you probably already know that I have an affinity for scary games. Horror games, jump scare games, it's all fun and awesome. One of my favorite series in this genre is Resident Evil. More than a decade ago, I first played Resident Evil Remake for the GameCube, and ever since then, I've been hooked. Resident Evil 2, 3, Code Veronica, and when Resident Evil 4 came out, I basically shit not just my pants, but the very concept of pants, and thus pants shall remain shitted until the second coming of the Lord of Shorts. And the game has since become one of my outspoken favorites, and will probably remain so for the rest of my life. Needless to say, Resident Evil and I go way back. I'm hard-pressed to find anything bad to say about the games. I mean, sure, they have flaws, but what game doesn't? But between all the shortcomings, there was always still fun to be had, and that's what I love most about the series. Nothing was ever taken too seriously. Even in moments of tension, we could still find some comic relief in the hilariously bad voice acting or low-grade graphics. Now obviously these things weren't necessarily intentional, but they work in the game's favor, sort of retroactively giving them a quirky grindhouse appeal with a fun continuing mythology and character callbacks that keep the fans coming back for more. All that changed when Resident Evil 4 finally came screaming into our lives like Wilhelm stubbing his toe all over again. A fun scary shooter overlaid with a healthy helping of dumb fun, like intentionally. This is how you do it, Capcom, take notes. But that's more or less where I stopped playing the series. No real reason for it, I just found other stuff to play, which is too bad, because the RE series had a really fun continuing story, and yeah, it was convoluted and weird, but that's what made it so fun. So today we're gonna pick up where I left off. That's right, we're gonna play Resident Evil 6. Oh Capcom, you and your weird numbering. I do recall being moderately excited for this game, and in the lead up to its release, Capcom boasted multiple playable campaigns with different characters from all over the Resident Evil world. It's always great to hear from the series veterans in games like this, and it looks like the first story we're going to be playing is that of Leon S. Kennedy, who we remember from Resident Evil 2 and 4. And it looks like we even have the option to play as either Leon or his companion, Helena? Well, I suppose I have no problem introducing new characters when it's warranted, but I think I'm gonna go with the man who toured me through the hallowed halls of Valhalla and then took me out for ice cream afterwards, or something. So we begin the story in medias res, with Leon staring down the barrel of his gun pointed at the zombified President of the United States. He tries to reason with the creature, clearly forgetting that he was in fact in Resident Evil 2 and would have no reason to think that would work at all. Eventually he figures it out when Helena almost gets made munchies of, though why she couldn't figure it out either, whatever, clearly she's new to this. Though, suddenly I'm not so sure, because literally, and I do not mean figuratively, literally the first thing we hear after the Prez hits the ground is...
It's all my fault. I did this.
And then, ring ring phone call from Hunnigan.
That's Helena Harper. She's been with the Secret Service since last year.
Straight to the point, this game. Not bad. None of this messing around with character introductions or context, it's all business here. And the business in question is shooting zombies, or at least it will be after we build up to it in the clunkiest way possible. The game has us meander around this unknown location, making us suffer through pointless fake-out jump scares and painfully forced expositional dialogue that really accomplishes nothing. Helena promises that all will be made clear if she and Leon can just get to the cathedral, but that it's super special secret stuff until then. Leon is all too chuffed to take that on faith, and the two begin their quest to steamroll a horde of zombies. Eventually I discovered that Leon and Helena are in fact fighting their way through a university campus, or a campus of some kind. Not entirely sure. The only reason I came to that conclusion is because Leon and Helena keep saying the word campus, and I found myself captaining myself on the teachers' desks. The level is essentially wide open spaces, crowded with infected, but of course the game will get you to the, and only the, objective sooner or later. In this case, it's the other side of this metal detector, which, seriously, if you've ever even heard of a zombie movie, you know what this is going to lead to. The alarm goes off, Yakety Sax starts up on the PA system, and the zombies all Benny Hill it over to my position. Alright, so I added the music, but I swear I did not change the speed of that footage at all. You know, if nothing else, the game does have a really dense and effective atmosphere. I mean, even if the dialogue is dumb and the combat is predictable, at least the environments look like they would be effective in real life, or, you know, an actual horror game. But a lot of these character movements, the running zombies included, really kill any kind of tension the game has built, even by accident. Leon popping pills? Must be for his epic back pain, right? Guns clearly aiming way the hell away from their crosshairs. Like, you'd think of all the things for video games to have mastered by now, guns would be at the top of that list. So we've made it off campus and into the sewers, or subway line, or I don't know. All I know is that the game is way more interested in building some will they won't they between Leon and Helena, despite a complete lack of character interaction between the two. Whatever, I guess Resident Evil fans need their shipping fantasies as well. By this time, the game isn't babying us anymore, and they're giving us zombies at what would seem to be full strength. But they still move like somebody put a snake down their pants. I have a hard time taking this seriously at this point, especially when the enemies are this hard. And by hard, I mostly just mean they're a bunch of bullet sponges doing the runoff until they decide to go for the podium finish. They do not go down easy anymore, and when there are large groups of infected that you really just have to try and fisticuff your way out of to safety, I mean, I suppose it could be scary on some level, but it's less about the tension and more about the gotta get out of the way because, you know, that. You ever been snuck up on by a train? Yeah, this is my life now. And this sort of thing doesn't stop. Emerging back onto the surface amongst the chaos of the panic of the people, you will learn very quickly that not even looking both ways before crossing the street can save you now. Motorists going nuts everywhere you look. Because everybody in this damn city drives like they just discovered a tarantula on their face, and I do include Leon in this. He and Helena get into a police car, and they manage to make it maybe a block and a half before Leon sees a zombie on the roof and figures the better tactic is to roll the damn car rather than reach for his gun, which was apparently in his hand during the accident anyways. All I can say is there had better be something spectacular at that cathedral, like a holy vision from Ace Frehley or something, because my faith, she wears so thin. We finally start making some progress again when Leon, Helena, and some panicked survivors start hauling ass in a school bus they came across. The game takes a moment to sow some menace without context over a guy named Simmons, who is apparently worth going Simmons over, but it isn't long before our driver runs into a single zombie and figures that the better tactic is to roll the damn bus instead of keep on driving. I am detecting somewhat of a continuing theme in this game. Sadly for him, he didn't actually manage to roll the bus, you know, better luck next time, but he did manage to perch precariously on the side of a cliff while a horde of zombies shamble their way over to us. Everything is horrible again, our new friends are getting ripped out of the windows, and we are flat on our backs desperately fighting off our attackers, but it isn't long before a truck driver comes along who's scared by a zombie on his windshield and figures that the better tactic is to roll the damn truck rather than, yeah, you get the picture. At this point, I'm just desperate to get to the cathedral because I'm like 97% sure there won't be any cars to roll. Except first we gotta open a secret passage, cause...
It's better if I show you.
Fine, whatever. So we're inside the cathedral, and there's a strange lack of enemies, and a certain air amongst the room, almost like the combat isn't necessary. The game instead seems to be coaxing us into performing thought-based tasks as part of some concept that encompasses the situation around... Is this a puzzle? I remember puzzles! Man, the old RE games were loaded with these things. It feels like it's been so long. I mean, we've only just come up to the first one, and we're 3 hours into a 6-hour game chapter. At least this kind of sort of feels like the old RE puzzles of the days of yore, only too bad that they do hide some thinly veiled combat in the mix and call it ice cream, but at least they're trying! It actually stopped me up a bit, because I had to think differently and all that good stuff, but what helped it the most was that Helena promised that if we solve the puzzle, she'll finally tell us what the boiling hell is going on! So we shot some bells and moved some Madonnas, and finally the secret passage opens, and oh shit, something's happening! Okay, so the story beats are lined up for a boss fight or something, so let's see what we gotta deal with before Helena tells us the business. It's the boob monster! Well, at least this one's something different. I mean, the monster design in this game has been pretty lackluster so far. It's zombies, sure, but the special infected, or whatever we're supposed to call them, really unimaginative. A lot of their descriptions can pretty much be boiled down to, I'm the loud one! I ate too many Pop-Tarts. I'm the one with less skin than all the others. But for this thing... Does anyone have like 31 bras I could borrow? Seriously, there can't have been anybody on the dev staff who didn't think of this. Why? Why didn't you speak up? So we find a keycard in one of this thing's cleavages, and we descend into the secret passage that awaits us. Inside, we find a dilapidated lab that we have to investigate. Once inside, Helena starts panicking over the unknown fate of a person called Deborah. She keeps checking corpses to see if this Deborah character might have already bitten the dust, and even Leon is starting to get impatient. I can see why. Even when asked directly who Deb is, Leon just gets stonewalled. So, okay, I guess we'll keep looking for your sister, girlfriend, or brother's niece by marriage, landlord's great aunt. I guess we'll have to wait and find out who Deborah is, because the game goes back to standard Resident Evil affair in a bit of a hurry. More zombies, even some more puzzles, until we jump down a trash chute that happens to also be the entrance to a secret underground temple or catacomb or something, because why not? It's really not important where we are, because oh hey look, it's Deborah, so now that means Helena can finally tell us what the hell is. Of course she's not going to.
Let's just get her out of here, and then I'll tell you everything. I promise.
So let me get this straight. We're trying to get her out of here by going further into the crust of the earth. We've already been descending for like an hour and a half in-game here. Are we sure that we've thought this through? But of course, by get her out of here, Helena actually just meant get her to a boss fight room, because yeah, we've just been Temple 5ing Deborah the whole time. A scary thing happens and Helena is aghast, unable to comprehend the horror before her, and Leon's just kind of like, man, I could go for a pizza or something. And I'm kind of with him here. Helena still hasn't properly told us who Deborah actually is, and I don't think we've heard her complete an entire sentence. And I guess she won't have to, because, oh hey, Ada's here to solve all our problems. Maybe she can finally tell us what the heckshire is happening in this Meshuggah situation.
What the hell is going on here?
It's complicated.
Oh, it's complicated. How about that? So Deborah goes all full-on boss fight on us, and it's all epic and shit, and we go on a crazy roller coaster ride that's tons of fun and all kinds of cool, or at least they want us to think that, because it's not like anybody tells us why we should care, because it's not like this game was written by a living creature with a sense of sequence! It is only after Helena lets the demonic Deborah fall to her presumed doom does she recount a rather disturbing scene in which she and Deb, who is apparently her sister after all, are being held hostage, and Deborah is eventually taken away by some scary men to have terrible virusy things done to her. If nothing else, it's a tense scene. I mean, there's not much to it other than Helena losing her cool in desperation, understandable to say the least, but what really burns me here is that as soon as the flashback is done, Helena confesses that she helped Simmons breach the president's security, and that's it. That's your explanation? Like, this whole time, that's what we've been building up to? Should have just said take 3 guesses. I would have landed here after 2. I mean, the game has been building up to this since moment 1. Literally, moment 1. And the big reveal is they took my sister, so I helped the bad guy. Are you going to tell us how you helped a bad guy? Are you going to tell us why a bad guy had you in custody in the first place? Are you going to tell us why a bad guy had to breach the president's security to pull this off? How about a motive? Anything? I'm starting to think this wasn't written by Neil Stephenson. Who'd have known? Also, that bad guy who did the dastardly deeds directed towards Deborah, that was Simmons. That Simmons guy from before, and he's just framed us for the assassination of the President of the United States. Simmons. Really doesn't have the same oomph as Wesker or Newman. But yeah, now we have a bad guy, and they really make sure we don't forget that he's the bad guy.
Does all this belong to Simmons?
Belong to him? Like all these underground catacombs that seem hell-bent on killing Indiana Jones fresh off doing in the Fellowship? Well, he is the bad guy, so I guess so. Wah wah. So Leon and Helena decide to try and find a way out of this forsaken place by, you guessed it, descending further into the depths of what must be the center of the planet by now. I mean, the game isn't even ashamed of how far it's making us travel at this point. After a pretty tense swimming scene that involves some kind of monstrous shark thing and a convenient exclusion from the need to breathe, and yes, you guessed it, plumbing new depths of this blue and green planet we call home, we somehow managed to accidentally find ourselves in the ocean, or something. What? Because we just spent the last 2 and some hours of gameplay descending into the bottomless pit of absurdity, only to make it back to sea level without realizing it. So yeah, I want to talk about the metaphysical nature of those crazy-ass catacombs back there, game?
What happened?
Talk about why any of that was necessary?
I need you to fake our deaths.
Talk about what that had to do with anything?
We're going to China.
Yeah, okay. So now we're in China. Any landing you can walk away from, right? Another agent with connections to Simmons gives us the address of a location where he will be at soon, and we start off skipping. But it isn't long before we get sidetracked and dragged into this weird and deadly version of Pong. It turns out that our opponents are none other than Chris Redfield and guy number 2. Seriously, who is this Joker? And they are tracking Ada, who turns out to be the one who's been messing with us because she's a bad guy now for some reason.
She's working for Neo Umbrella. You know what that means?
Confusion abounds! But when doesn't it in this game? Especially when the game just sort of says, okay, we're done with that, so now back to talking about Simmons, and off we go! Here we are, and Simmons is just kind of standing around being greasy. I guess waiting for us, maybe? And then Agent Sherry Birkin shows up. Yeah, the little girl from Resident Evil 2, all grown up. How cool is that? And she confronts Simmons about the recent goings-on. Oh no, there's bullets, I guess we should move out of the way. After our group has a quick exchange of information through which Simmons is waiting oh so patiently.
Can we wrap this up? I do have better things to do.
What? This happens. And then we find out some weird guy hanging out with Sherry is the key to stopping the C virus. And then a big missile hits the city that we're in with a big blue mist that turns everybody into zombies. Like, right the hell now. You know, I'm still waiting for a thing on those catacombs back there, so I'm just, not gonna ask. You know, I can't help but feel like this game spent a bit too much time wandering around the mines of Moria. Most of the rest of this chapter really is a rushed mess. The entire city has been turned into a war zone. Soldiers from some organization are trying to evacuate civilians as quickly as possible. But obviously things just get horrible. Leon and Helena offer to help, but what anybody is going to do at this point is kind of beyond me. They bring us to a Hummer they have waiting and offer to drive us to, oh no, we've tried this and it didn't work. I have had enough of planes, trains, and automobiles in this damn game. If I get into that Jeep, you're gonna roll it, or it's gonna explode, or run out of gas, maybe.
This is as far as I can get you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how to feel just now. Oh, that's better. So we finally caught up with Simmons, who's looking more and more hit by a train as time goes on, which might be because we hit him with a train before. Sorry for not mentioning that. And I can't help but feel like our relationship with Simmons is moving a bit too quickly for my liking. Don't get me wrong, he's designed in every way he should be. He looks like a villain. Oh boy, does he look like a villain. But he certainly doesn't give off the impression of one, yet. I mean, we're definitely not at the fallen from grace last-ditch attempt to bring down the good guys stage yet. I mean, we've really only heard him speak a total of 3 times at this point. Maybe let us have a boss fight with him in human form before doing this? But no, the game has him going shirt off, heavy breathing, "You'll pay for this," full-on monster transformation on us already. But really, why am I surprised? The final boss is just a series of teeth-grittingly quiet concessions and what? I mean, why is he a centaur that shoots bullets out of his hair? Why is he most of a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Why is he directed by David Cronenberg? This game never fails to just inundate us with stuff. And you know, I'm not sure I was ever frightened or scared by any of it. Remember when Resident Evil was scary? Even the cheesy ones were at least weird or off-putting, but this game... well, Brundlefly is always pretty creepy. But not like creepy in like a ugh way, but more of an ugh, why way. And yeah, I get the dedication to tradition. In fact, I love it. But it worked back then because there was tension during the final boss fight. This was just anticlimactic. Boom. Headshot. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was hoping for another Resident Evil 4, but I suppose literally everybody I told I was doing a video on this game couldn't be wrong. See, while Resident Evil 4 was fun to play and exciting to experience and had endearing characters, Resident Evil 6 only had one of those things. If I'm honest, gameplay wasn't horrible. 90% of the time, I think the game was pretty smooth, and I had fun just using the mechanics of the game. Oh yeah, the music was pretty good. My hat's off to the composition team. It was simplistic, effective, and memorable. So yeah, 2 reasons why I couldn't really even get hilariously angry at this game. Just kind of disappointed. Yeah. 3 chapters to go. Wish me luck. So disappointing.